Three lifelong friends, 6 trusty balls, and endless NFL takes. Welcome to Three Guys, 6 Balls NFL podcast. All right, welcome everyone to episode 4 of Three Guys, 6 Balls NFL podcast. We have a great episode for you today. I'm super excited because it is April and we are doing an NFL mock draft. We're doing picks 1 through 12 today. Before we get started though, I want to just mention 2 things. Last time, Will failed to mention Mark Davis's haircut. And I'm very disappointed, Will, that you forgot to mention his haircut last time. So we're just going to knock that out of the way this time.
But he did it in a previous episode, right? I remember him saying that.
He did.
A bunch of times.
He did, but he said he said he was going to mention him every single episode, and he didn't last.
Well, we didn't bring up the Raiders. We're bringing up the Raiders today. They've got pick 6. Let me tell you, if Mark Davis's haircut doesn't make your short list for pick number 6, I don't know what we were thinking.
So I just wanted to get that knocked out of the way before we forget again. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is if you are an NFL fan and you're into the NFL draft, the movie Draft Day is out on Netflix right now. Go watch it. Get yourself ready for the draft. It's a great movie. Doing some free advertising for Netflix. Before we start this draft, I also have a trivia question for you guys about the NFL draft. I'm going to test you guys' knowledge here. So the trivia question is, there are only 2 teams in the NFL who have only ever selected one quarterback in the first round of the draft. Who are the teams and who are the quarterbacks? Do you need a hint?
Is it a vague hint or a give it away hint?
It'll be not a give it away, but it'll make it a lot easier.
Okay.
All right.
So the 2 teams are in the top 12 of the draft.
So I feel like top 12 means Dallas is one of them.
Yes, Dallas is one.
Yeah, 12 was a specific number.
Yes, it was.
The other team is in the top 9 of the draft.
Is it the Saints?
Yep.
Gotta be.
Like, all right, I understood after the first hint what the pattern was.
Do you know who the quarterbacks are?
Saints and Cowboys.
Is it Aikman?
Aikman is for the Cowboys in 1989.
Breeze?
No, he was drafted by the Chargers.
By the Chargers. San Diego.
Was it? Oh, wait. I think no, first round. Do you know who I wanted to say?
Is it Doug Flutie?
No, it's not. Who'd you want to say?
And up until you said just...
Oh, sorry. Give me
Wait, no, he didn't play. Never mind. I'm thinking of the wrong guy.
Do you need to give it away hint?
What year? What genre of...
Yeah.
Are we talking leather helmets? Or are we talking...
1971.
Okay, all right.
Give me a give it away hint, an all the way give it away hint.
He has the same last name as Peyton and Eli.
Oh, Archie. Huh?
Archie Manning.
Got it. Wow.
Those are the only 2 teams that have ever only selected one quarterback in the first round of the draft.
Wouldn't it be ironic if the Saints draft Arch in the first round? And what is it? 2 years?
27, yeah.
You know everybody's tanking
unless Archie gets in there and he's like, he's not gonna play for you, so don't draft him. He's gonna go to the team that we want him to.
He's going to the Giants.
Will make this difficult. Yeah.
And you know what? 4 Super Bowls in that. Well, at least 4 Super Bowls from his kids. So I mean, it's proven record, right?
I'm still not sure how 2 of those Super Bowls came, but
well, one was a helmet catch right here that missed the ground by that much, and then the other one was Mario Manningham with a centimeter left on the sideline. Great catch. I mean, inarguable great catches. But anyway, that's not the point.
I was looking at a lot of the Giants' old stats from the Super Bowl because I have their pick in the draft. And so I was looking at a lot of those stats. And some of the names that came up, like Victor Cruz, Hakeem Nicks, Avery, from North Carolina.
88.
Yeah. Ahmad
Do you guys remember those? Do you guys remember those little fantasy football little draft vignettes they do? They had them on. They're like on YouTube. With everyone like pick me on your fantasy team, and they do some like outrageous thing. You know, like Kevin Boss would like push his like hand through like OSB. Hakeem Nicks did one with a reporter where she like picked a card, put it in the deck, threw the deck up, and he snatches the card out of like. I was like, holy cow, you're a rookie, man.
Yeah, some of those names brought back some memories from watching those guys. All right, so with our NFL draft, again, we're doing picks 1 through 12. So we each have 4 picks. So Avery's going to start us off with pick 1, and then Will's going to go pick 2, and I'll be pick 3. So overall, Avery's got pick 1, 4, 7, and 10. Will has picked 2, 5, 8, and 11. And then I have picked 3, 6, 9, and 12. So I'm going to share my screen here real quick so we can get this mock draft going here. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So with the first pick in the draft, the Tennessee Titans are officially on the clock. Avery.
So this was actually, out of the 4 picks, this is the one that I spent the most time on. I was looking for anything else, looking for any other opinions, any other kind of insight. Was looking at what's his name? Travis Hunter, Shedeur. And honestly, I was so close to just picking Will Howard, even though they didn't. No, sorry. No, I lied. Will Campbell. Oh my gosh. No, yeah. Will Campbell, the offensive lineman. Even though they don't have the team needs up there, I just thought that would have been such a great flex. Because I still am of the opinion that if you can get a solid line built, a great quarterback will come. Like, it's one of those things where you don't want to be the quarterback to be like demanding better pieces around you to protect you. But if a team already had it like built in, then you're like the place to go. You're like, oh, this is my stats are going to look great. I'm not going to get hurt, all this stuff. But I did not go with him because that would be outrageous. I went with Cam Ward.
It's a really good way to drag that pick out, Avery.
Yeah. I wanted to give it a little spruce. I could have just said Cam Ward next.
That's pretty much what the first pick is.
That could have been good or bad, just doing that, just cutting to the chase. No, but I think he's probably the safest bet. They need a quarterback, and I like him over Shedeur. I think Shedeur comes with too many, I don't want to say question marks, but I think his floor is a lot lower than Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's just the safest bet.
So, with that being said, let's move on to pick 2 for the Cleveland Browns.
Fun fact, Cleveland Browns have not made a first-round draft pick since 2021. And that pick was Greg Newsome, cornerback out of Northwestern, with pick number 26. Yes, there was a time in recent history that the Browns had pick number 26 in the first round. So, there's that.
Playoff team.
Yes, they were. Thank you, Baker Mayfield. So, it's been a few years. The problem is historically, they have not had great success with first-round quarterbacks or running backs or receivers or any first-round pick they ever made besides Joe Thomas.
Brandon Weeden.
Yeah. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of people that picked in the first round, especially early. I mean, how can we forget Trent Richardson, number 3? I mean, that's just, you just can't forget that kind of stuff. It says here team needs quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tackle, corner. Even though Travis Hunter is available, I'm still not taking him. I'm going to go Abdul Carter at pick number 2. Even though the question is still out whether he needs surgery or not, or what the lingering effect's going to be, I think he's still going to be the best available for the team fits because you just re-signed Myles Garrett to that big contract. You have got to get somebody else in there to get pressure off of him. And then as well, somebody that he can basically apprentice to learn under him so that way he can get his knowledge into somebody else and that way they have an even longer term edge rusher.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If I had the pick for the Browns, I would have gone with Abdul Carter as well, even though I did want him for the Giants, but now I'll pick somebody else. So one thing just to say about the Browns and their defense is with Myles Garrett, he had 14 sacks last year. And then after him, the production in sacks, there's a significant dip. So I know they still need an offense. They still need a quarterback. Maybe they pick somebody in the second round or a later round, but I think that's a really good pick for the Browns. I think that'll definitely help Myles Garrett and their defense overall. All right, so moving on to pick 3 with the New York Giants. So before I make my pick, I got some stats here. I have to because that's just what I do every time. This Giants defense, they had the 9th most sacks last year in the NFL with 45. And as I was looking at the sack numbers,
I'm sorry, sacks defensively. They did the sacking, or they got sacked that much?
They did.
Who has the sack?
They did the sacking.
They did the sack.
Yes.
So this is a good sack and a bad sack.
Yes. Yes. So they had the 9th most sacks.
Good sacks.
Good sacks, yes.
Good sacks.
Yes. So, good sacks, yes. Okay. So, as I was looking at these sack numbers, 7 out of the top 10 teams in sacks made the playoffs last year. So, what that told me is if you can get to the quarterback, your chances of going to the playoffs are pretty high. Now, the reason why the Giants didn't go to the playoffs last year, even though they had a good defensive line, is because their quarterback play was horrible. Going back to the defense real quick, though, they already have players like Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence. Thibodeau had 5.5 sacks last year, and Lawrence had 9 sacks last year, but they each only played 12 games. So if they play a full season, those numbers go up. Then they also have linebacker Brian Burns, who had 8.5 sacks last season, and they signed Chauncey Goldston, who had 5.5 sacks last season as a free agent from Dallas. So you can see building their defensive line and their front seven is a priority for them. Now, with the offense, that's really the biggest thing that they need to fix, right? Their quarterback play was awful, but now they have Russell Wilson, who brings stability to the quarterback position.
Woo!
Say what you will about Russell Wilson, but he had a quarterback rating last season of 95.6, which was better than Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, and CJ Stroud.
Okay, but he also didn't play on the snaps.
But in the games he played, that's his quarterback rating. He was better than Mahomes. He was better than Stroud. He was better than Stafford. He was better than some other guys too. I just didn't throw their names in there. But he definitely wasn't elite, but he was an above average quarterback. Guess what happened the last time the Giants had an average quarterback with a dominant front seven?
Except David Tyree helmet catch.
They won 2 Super Bowls. And I don't care what you say about Eli Manning. He was not a good quarterback statistically. His career quarterback rating was 84.1, and Russell Wilson's quarterback rating is 99.8. So you have an above average quarterback who is running your offense, and you have a dominant front seven. So this puts the Giants in a position to do whatever they want in the draft. So with that being said, the pick that I'm making for the Giants at pick 3 is Travis Hunter. And the reason why I'm going with Travis Hunter is because you already have Malik Neighbors as your number 1. You also have guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, who had 93 catches for 699 yards. And you have Darius Slayton, who is also an NFL receiver. Put Travis Hunter into this offense. You have those 4 guys on the field for Russell Wilson to throw to. What's a defense going to do? They're already planning on double teaming Malik Neighbors every single time. But now you have to focus on Travis Hunter as well. If you put him on defense, you already have the front seven to give him time to make plays as a defensive back, which we clearly saw that in college he could do that. And I think he's going to be able to do that on this level as well. So Travis Hunter going to the Giants. I think the Giants are in win now mode with the team that they have. If they can stay healthy, specifically on their defensive front, they can compete with the Eagles, the Commanders. And I know the Cowboys weren't good last season, but the Cowboys always give them problems in their division games every single year. I think they can beat the Cowboys with this team. And so Travis Hunter is the pick. He's going to make them a competitive team this season.
All right. I was flirting with Genty for this pick, but I got to protect my homeboy May. I don't want to see baby boy get hurt. I don't like Will Campbell. And the reason is purely just, one, all 4 of my picks basically need massive help on the offensive line. Like they all do.
They gave up a lot of sacks.
Yeah, they did. And I think Will Campbell's solid. I think he's got shorter arms than he should have for the, at least for the top pick of the draft, but I still like him. I think he's the best offensive lineman in the draft, and this is kind of one of those as the antithesis of the New York Giants pick where they could kind of go in either direction. I think the Patriots are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You kind of have to go this way. Otherwise, you're going to just see more problems, and I think, again, what I was touching on with pick 1, which I didn't need to at the time, but I was prepping for this one. I think just having a better O-line just makes the rest of your team better on offense. Same deal with what Joel was saying, that, if you can get to the quarterback, your team's just going to do a lot better, disrupts things. And I think that this, on the opposite side of that, if you can protect your quarterback, you're going to do pretty well. I just think it's the only, barring a trade or some other shakeup, I think that's the only route not the only route. It's the best route that the Patriots have, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was thinking either an offensive lineman for them or McMillan because they do need
Yeah.
receiver help. I know they signed Diggs, but I mean, he's on the older side for a receiver and he's coming off an ACL injury. So I was thinking one of those two, but I do like the pick of the offensive line because they gave up a lot of sacks last year. I think it was like 52 or something like that. So they definitely need to fix that offensive line. All right, let's go back to Will with pick 5. Actually, let me put pick 4 on the board real quick. All right, the Jaguars
Okay.
are on the clock.
So, as Jacksonville Jaguars, we gave up 2,200 rushing yards last season, which averaged out to 4.4 rushing yards per play.
Eighth worst in rushing yards allowed.
Yeah. We were 29th in sack percentage. We were 32nd in passing yards per play, 24th in opponent completion, 32nd in passing yards per game. We do not have any way to stop anybody defensively. And it all starts right in the middle. If you can clog up the interior lineman, center guard, and they can't get to second level, then a whole lot more stuff opens up because you no longer need their guards are not getting to your linebackers, so you're stopping the run. Your linebackers aren't having to rush as much if you can draw more attention interior, then your edge rushers can get there. And with that, we're taking Mason Graham, defensive tackle of Michigan. We got to plug up the middle to let everybody else get freed up on the outside.
I like it. That's definitely going to help the Jaguars. I mean, they have so many needs in so many different places. Any pick here really would have been helpful, but that's where I would have gone too. All right, so to the Raiders with pick 6. There was a couple different things I thought about with this pick.
Was it Mark Davis' haircut?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Were you picking a new barber for Mark Davis?
Yes, that's who I was going to draft with the 6th overall pick, was a new barber.
Some odd $1 billion stadium, $8 haircut by his nephew's nephew. Good golly. Anyway,
Who lets him leave the house?
him.
It's got to be a bit. It's
His
like,
girlfriend.
look, I'm so rich, I can do this, and I'm going to catch so much flack, and it's not going to matter at all. Like, that's what I wish was the case. I know it's not. I think it's just delusion. Anyway, you can keep going.
I'm sure his 26-year-old girlfriend loves it.
Yeah, that turns her on.
Which is younger than all of us, by the way. 26. That man's 95.
Yeah,
Anyway,
just so everybody knows, we have 31-year-old balls. Avery is actually going to be 32 this month.
Yeah.
So, so depressing.
halfway to death, basically.
And then you, like a week later.
8 days, excuse you.
I like to under exaggerate it a little bit, make you seem a little older. Will's the baby. You baby. You're so much younger.
All right, well, with the 6th pick in the draft, the Las Vegas Raiders are selecting Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. And the reason I'm going with Jeanty is because this team was just awful rushing the ball last season. Just awful. They were dead last in rushing yards per game with 79.8, which was 12 yards per game lower than the second to lowest team. So this team needs to run the ball. You have a new quarterback. You have Geno Smith, who can run the offense, but you got to help him out running the ball because that's just not going to work when you know if a defense knows that you can't run the ball, obviously they're going to focus on your passing attack. So to help out Geno Smith and to help out Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, you have to be able to run the ball. So Ashton Jeanty is going to help their rushing offense significantly. And with Brock Bowers specifically, last season he had 112 catches for 1,194 yards and 5 touchdowns. And he did that with the worst rushing offense in the league. Just imagine what Brock Bowers can do if you put Ashton Jeanty in the backfield. If you are a fantasy owner, I mean, not yet, obviously, but when you do fantasy, if Ashton Jeanty goes to the Raiders, you want Brock Bowers on your team as your tight end. 100%. There's no other tight end that you should want on your team if Ashton Jeanty's in the Raiders' backfield. A lot of people are comparing Jeanty to LaDainian Tomlinson. If he gets anywhere even close to that, you got to pick him. I know drafting a first-round running back is not high on a lot of teams' boards, but if he's anything close to the LaDainian Tomlinson, you got to pick him, especially with how bad this rushing offense was last season. So let's go back over to Avery with pick 7 for the Jets.
This one was tough. I had some safer picks in mind. but
We don't like safe.
I like a pick here, and I'm going to catch some flack for it. But there's not a lot of consensus going on online with this pick, but my gut tells me it's good, and I like it. I'm going to go Jackson Dart
Oh,
at 7.
I
Yeah,
did
I
not
like
see that.
Jackson
I
here.
did
I
not see
think,
that coming.
I
yeah,
like
no,
that. That feels good in my loins.
I like it because Shedor's still somewhere floating around in the green room. Jackson Dart coming out. I don't even know where he lives. It's Ole Miss. He's probably in a trailer somewhere. He shows up on his cousin's, Samsung Galaxy to, do some interviews real quick. But I like him. I think he's solid, and I think the fact that he's a little bit lower ranked means he's going to come in with a little bit better attitude. I think Shedeur Sanders kind of feels like he already has been drafted and he already belongs. But I think this guy could really get to work. There were a few other guys that I thought could work here, but I think that the Jets, after kind of losing Aaron Rodgers there and needing a little bit more spice, a little bit more publicity. I think this, I mean, not that it would be why they pick him, but I could see the front office or the marketing team being like, yeah, go for Jackson. But anyway, yeah, I think they need a quarterback. Maybe there's better quarterbacks. I disagree for the Jets. I like Jackson.
I mean, he's my guy. So you guys know I've been big on Jackson Dart since the start. I mean, I was listening before everybody who's listening starts hating on Avery here. I was listening to a podcast from ESPN's First Draft with Mel Kiper. He picked Jackson Dart to the Saints at 9. So it's very possible that Jackson Dart goes in the top 10 of the draft. So don't be hating on Avery. I mean, I know the Jets have Justin Fields. They just signed him to a big contract, but I mean, you never know. You never know.
The one thing with Jackson I'm not a big fan of is how his mom decided to spell his first name. Every time I see it, I'm like, you had Jack Son right there. Like, what is this? You
Now they
add
have
the arbitrary
Jack's
S
son.
at the end of the X. Jack's son. Every time I see it, I'm like, this is wrong. But everything else regarding his game, I like. That's just the one thing I think might hold him back. I think, but maybe if he got bullied a little bit in school, that could have built up some toughness. So either way, I see it as a positive.
Well, he was born in the 2000s, so that feels right.
Yeah. Let's say he was born in Utah.
So Avery, I'm curious, do you see this as a situation like with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson last year, where Fields starts off the season as a starter, and then if he just is not producing, then they put Dart in?
I would see it a little bit bringing it back to Aaron Rodgers back when they brought in Jordan Love and everyone. I mean, I can't remember how many years ago that was, but I just remember they drafted him and everyone's like, so what does that mean? Because Aaron Rodgers is still on the team and they just like, I didn't see any clear answer. It just sounded like, hey, we have another quarterback. Every team has multiple quarterbacks. We'll see who wins. And that's how I see this going down, is them drafting him, making no real announcement or letting the other the QBs in the QB room know what the deal is. But yeah, just, the best quarterback gets the job. So I can see it being a total media mess, but I'm here for it.
They could always just trade Justin Fields back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they'd get like $50.
Right now, they'd probably take him.
Yeah.
They'd probably give up the farm right now. You can't roll with Rudy. You just can't. I'm sorry.
Do you think, Avery, Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders? Do you think Shedeur Sanders in New York, well, New Jersey, but New York is a potential off the field problem? Being his dad, and not that his dad's a problem, but the media persona around all of it. I think that could be an issue.
Yeah. I see Shador, and this is unfair. I'm gonna go into this saying this is objectively unfair. I see him as some kid who just wants candy at all costs, and his parents have one decision: give him the candy, and he'll eat it until he gets, fat and diabetic, and then ends up, not being able to do anything, or saying no, and then he throws a temper tantrum forever. I just see it as Shador either goes to a team he doesn't want to play for, has a bad attitude, does little things to try to get traded, or he goes to New York and then falls into the pitfall of what he thought he wanted, and then ends up either partying, drinking too much, getting into trouble, whatever it is, getting distracted, and then it also not working out. So I just see it as one of these things where, like, yeah, you want to be where you want to be, but there's no element of humility here. There's no element of, like, let's get to work. It's like, I'm already God's gift to the NFL. Who's going to get me? But I want to play where I want to play. Not like he's out there saying that, but I know he's got preferences.
Sure.
All right. Well, that was a surprise pick from Avery, but I like it though. Will, before we get to your pick at 8, for those who are not watching with video, let me just recap. I should have done this at 6 because I was halfway through, but let me just recap the picks real quick. So at pick 1 for the Tennessee Titans, we got Cam Ward. Pick 2 for the Browns is Abdul Carter. Pick 3 for the Giants is Travis Hunter. Pick 4 for the Patriots is Will Campbell. Then pick 5 for the Jaguars is Mason Graham. Pick 6 for the Raiders is Ashton Jeanty. And then Avery with the surprise selection of Jackson Dart for the Jets at 7. So with that, let's get over to the Panthers at pick 8.
I also think it's important to note right here that we have not said so far is we're doing the first 12 with no trades.
You're right.
This is picking.
We did say no.
Picking.
Yeah. We didn't say no trades. Like,
right.
For everybody listening, we didn't tell you that.
Yes. We are doing picks as they are currently assigned. So as we get into 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, there's a lot more questions on, should they keep it? Should they trade? What's the value here? As we move into these last 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever, 5, I don't care. As we move into these last few picks, we're keeping the picks that we are assigned. No trades allowed. So with pick 8, the Panthers need just so much help. They need to reestablish themselves. There was a time in history where they had Greg Olsen, Christian McCaffrey, and they were a winning team. They were not bad. They had a team that could put points on the board. They had Luke Kuechly on defense. They were, I don't want to call them a force to be reckoned with, but they were definitely better than they've been in recent history. And I think that all starts offensively. They've got Bryce Young, who they think is their guy. Even though Shedeur Sanders is on the board, I think they still stick with Bryce Young. The last thing they want to do is draft a quarterback in the first round and destroy the confidence of their young quarterback. So instead of doing that, they need to get him some help. And when you're looking for a key offensive piece of help, you don't go receiver, you go tight end. You need somebody who you can rely on. If you look at all the teams, they've got their key tight end that they go to on big plays. And so with that, we're taking Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State.
Like that.
He's 6'6". He draws comparisons to Freiermuth. If that's not a safety valve out of Pittsburgh, then I don't know what you want to call it. But a safety net for Bryce Young to be able to look to when he needs to, especially because he's going to play a lot of the same style as Brock Bowers. And so seeing what the Raiders did with Brock Bowers last year, the Panthers are going to recreate that with their own guy.
I love that for them. Yeah, Bryce Young, he really picked up his game. It was only the last 3 games of the season, but his last 3 games, his quarterback rating was 107.5, 100.7, and 123.5. So you see he's got the potential, but he just needs the help. And one thing I just want to mention with Tyler Warren too is he actually had this last season at Penn State, he actually had 218 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns rushing on 26 carries. So you can put him in the backfield in short yardage situations, use him in a wildcat situation, pick up those short yards, those tough yards, maybe do a tight end sneak. He can run the ball. You can put this guy at receiver, you can put him at tight end, you can put him in the backfield, you can do whatever you want with this guy. So having a guy like Tyler Warren for your young quarterback, Bryce Young, that's going to be huge. I think that's going to help Bryce Young with his development. And yeah, I really like that pick.
He also wins 3 for 6 with 50% completion percentage, 35 yards, and a passing touchdown. I'm not saying it's reliable, but it's there. A double pass from a tight end is not something you see very often.
Yeah, he can do a little bit of everything, and a lot of everything is what the Panthers need. So,
yes.
Okay. Well, let's get to pick 9 for the New Orleans Saints. So I debated this pick a little bit. I know the Saints have a lot of needs. They don't have a lot of cap space. But ultimately, I went with somebody in the secondary. And you're probably thinking I went with Will Johnson, but I didn't. I went with Jahdae Barron, defensive back from Texas. And the reason I went with him is because he's a guy that can play multiple positions in the secondary. After the Saints traded Marshawn Lattimore and they lost Paulson Adebo in free agency, their secondary is depleted. They need help in the secondary. So why not get a guy who was the best defensive back in college football last season? He won the Jim Thorpe Award for Nation's Top DB. He played snaps all over the field. In 3 seasons at Texas, he took 893 snaps in the slot, 860 snaps at corner, 475 snaps at box safety, and 51 snaps at deep safety. So wherever you need help, Jahdae Barron is going to come in and he's going to help your secondary from day one. He also ran a 4.39 at the combine, so he has a little bit of speed. He can do a little bit of everything at any position you want in the secondary, and he creates turnovers is what he does, which if you are lacking help in the secondary, you need somebody who can create turnovers. This last season, he had 5 interceptions. He also had 67 tackles and 11 pass breakups. So this guy's just all over the field. He's fast. He's tough. He knows how to create turnovers, and he can play multiple positions. So I think he's the perfect pick for the Saints at pick 9. There's a lot of different ways they could go again, but I just feel like this is their best bet. With the needs they have, this is their best bet. So I'm going to put him on board real quick, and then let's get to pick 10 for the Chicago Bears.
All right. So I'm gonna go Armand Membo.
Darn it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Avery with the offensive lineman today.
Although, Will, I might be
Whoa.
looking to trade. The reason being is I think I just liked Will Campbell up above. If I actually represented those 4 teams, meaning I needed to pick for those, I probably should have swapped those picks if I could have. Only because Membao plays more right tackle, if anything, and the Bears need a left tackle. Maybe Will can give some insight onto how difficult that transition could be. I mean, I understand it's the same position on the other end of the field, but I can imagine there is quite a bit to it. I mean, you're basically protecting the blind side at that point. You got a lot more responsibility on you. I don't know, Will, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, give me a second.
Are you looking up what a left tackle is?
No, I'm looking at what handed this Caleb Williams is. He's right-handed, correct? Yeah, he's right-handed. All right, so the main difference here in right tackle versus left tackle is are you going to be by yourself or are you going to have help? You need your left tackle on the backside of a quarterback, a right-handed quarterback that is, to be able to play by themselves. They are out there on an island. Usually the left side of the offense is the right side of defense. Right end is usually more, I don't want to say it's easier, but it's where they put the strong side most of the time. Because the right side, well, it's where they go opposite strong side because your right side is oftentimes where the tight ends at. And so they flip it. That way your better defensive lineman is not getting shipped by a tight end. And so you need your left tackle to be your best, most athletic, really, which is what Membu is the most athletic offensive lineman to be able to stand there on his own and go one-on-one versus the best athletes in the world on the football field. And so on the right side, you should get help. You get guard help, you get tight end help, you get slot receiver or wing or whatever, running back help off that side. There's just a lot more because that's the way the quarterback's looking. And so it's hey, we're gonna get a bigger wall here, and then it's one on the back side. So there's just a lot more opportunity for success on the right side versus the left side.
Yeah, I think he's great. I think he could have easily gone 4. I would be amazed if he slid down this far and if he was the right fit for them. I was flirting with Omarion Hampton, but
I knew you were. I knew
I
would.
even though up here on the thing it doesn't say they need a lineman, they do. Everyone needs a lineman, and so I think he's the best. Kelvin Banks was another one that I was kind of looking at there, but I think Membu is just a little bit better.
Yeah, I like that pick for the Bears. I know they addressed their offensive line in free agency. They made some good pickups there, but you know, if one guy goes down, then you have a hole. So if you put him in there, I mean, I think he can also play guard if you needed him to. So you bring in this guy to an offensive line that was just absolutely terrible last season. So I really like that pick. And to address the not picking Hampton again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but there are plenty of running backs in this draft. This running back class is deep, so you do not have to pick a guy at 10 in order to get a good running back in this class. So I like it. All right, let's get over to the 49ers with pick 11.
If I'm the 49ers picking at pick 11, which currently I am, so if I'm me right now, I am just going to I'm just going to wait. I'm just sitting back and I'm waiting. I need everything. We lost everything. Nobody wanted to play with us anymore. That's what happened.
It's so sad how that happened. They were
they
on top of the world, man.
They lost
And they
everything.
were so
Everyone
close, and they just couldn't get
so
it
many
done.
times. And it all started with Jimmy Garoppolo overthrowing George Kittle, and you just went downhill from there. Every single season.
Wait, just to interrupt, Will, can I ask you guys a question real quick about the 49ers?
No. All right, so thank you. All right, so let's keep going. Yeah, before.
Okay. So everybody makes fun of the Cowboys because they haven't been to a Super Bowl in since 95? Is that correct? Since 95?
For the Cowboys, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So guess who hasn't won a Super Bowl since 94?
I'm assuming the
49ers.
49ers. Okay. So my question.
Your questions have patterns. So
Yes.
They're
yes.
leading. These are leading
Yes.
questions.
I appreciate
Last
it.
time I asked you guys a question about a Jaguars quarterback, you had no idea who it was. So
I listed so many Jaguars quarterbacks. What are you talking about?
okay, so the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in a longer amount of time than the Dallas Cowboys. So would you rather be the Dallas Cowboys and not even make it to a Super Bowl in that amount of time, or be the 49ers and have made it to the Super Bowl as many times as they have and not win the Super Bowl?
Better to have loved and lost than never have loved at all, right?
Yeah, I'd rather be
I want to get there.
a few times.
I want to get
Sneak
there.
that in there.
I want to get there every single time, even if I don't win. There's no question.
I agree. I was just curious.
The difference between the Niners and the Cowboys is that the Niners fandom is not as obnoxious outside of their region. Dallas Cowboys fans, me included, are obnoxious worldwide. I was going to say nationwide, but really it's worldwide. Everywhere you go, there's Dallas Cowboys fans, and everywhere you go, they're obnoxious, me included. So that's the big hang up with Dallas.
I'll be honest. I haven't seen it. That has not been my experience. I grew up around you guys, and you guys were both Cowboys fans, and I was told all the time about how annoying Cowboys fans were. I mean, granted, Jake also Cowboys fan, but for the most part, and it might be my age and where we are in time, there is no cocky Cowboys fans right now. Like, then there haven't been for a while. There can be, you can have some guy just running his mouth. I'll tell you what, we grew up out in the West Coast. 49ers fans, to me, are way worse. Way worse. It's the same thing with In-N-Out. Just this superiority just because you have a chain that started in California. Congratulations, you got a mid burger. It's cheaper. It's mid. But it's the same. It's kind of the same deal with the 49ers is that they've still got this. It's because they'll still win some conference championships that they're like, oh yeah, we're right there. We're right there. But I talked to you guys, talked to Jake. It's just like, man, I love the boys, but dude, this is depressing. It's like you guys have been beat down for 3 decades, and it's like, yeah. It's hard to be annoying. It's kind of punching down if you make fun of Cowboys fans at this point. It sounds mean, but I would fight a 49ers fan, and I don't even have a dog in the fight.
The other difference there is that Cowboys ownership is constantly making Dallas fans defend them. And the Niners ownership is not making Niners fans defend them. They're just sitting idly by, losing half their team. And Dallas is sitting there saying, "Now I can't believe we're not in the Super Bowl every year, even though we make no moves in free agency. We don't draft what we need. We just sit idly by and pay Dak Prescott $700 billion to win a couple games, maybe."
Who's the pick?
Yeah, who's the pick?
Oh, who's the pick? Oh man,
Sorry, I interrupted you. I interrupted your train of thought there.
Yeah, I was going on a thing here. So I'm the Niners. I've lost everybody. I need everything. We lost so many defensive starters. We lost Debo. We lost the will to live. We have to have a quarterback, right? Starting next year, we don't have a decent quarterback. Well, starting a couple years ago, we don't really have a decent quarterback on the roster. We don't have anything. With all that being said, we go Will Johnson, cornerback. Besides Travis Hunter, he's the best. He's the best corner in the draft. He had 2 picks last year, 2 touchdowns. You got to start somewhere. The right pick is probably offensive line because we're going to have to sign a quarterback somewhere. Maybe we're trying to get into this Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. But if trades were allowed, yeah, exactly. It's so defeated. This is the other thing. Is that when Niners fans get defeated, they get quiet. When Dallas fans get defeated, ownership starts to speak up. I just can't believe it. So there is so much room for this year for the Niners. It is surrounded with oh no. Good luck. That's all I said. That end. Just good luck.
I would like the Will Johnson pick. You're sticking with the Will theme there, which I like. Will Howard, Will Johnson. But just some facts about Will Johnson here. So he's 6'2". He's almost 200 pounds, which every team would love that in a corner. You lost Javarius Ward. You need a corner. So you put in Will Johnson. Now, he does have an injury history, but when he's on the field, this guy creates turnovers, and he turns them into something big. He had 2 pick sixes last season in only 5 games. And then in 2023, when they won the national championship, he had 4 interceptions. He also had a pick 6 that season. So if you're the Niners and you're getting Will Johnson on your team, you're getting a corner who, yes, he does have that risk of injury, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of Trevon Diggs for Dallas. He's not the best cover guy. He does have an injury history, but when he's on the field, he is a pick 6 waiting to happen at any moment in the game.
It's real boom or bust, but when it's booming big. And the 49ers are going to have something this year. You can't rely on Christian McCaffrey to play 3 games. You can't rely on Brandon Ayuk. Right? This is 2 off seasons in a row that trade rumors and I don't want to be here anymore. Well, I wouldn't either. All of my friends left. Right? The whole half the team left. The only reason Juszczyk stayed is because they finally decided to pay somebody. He's a fullback, so they're like, all right, I guess we can probably pay you. But they've got this big looming contract hanging over their heads from Brock Purdy, which they're going to have to pay way too much to keep him. They need everything, and they only have the 1 pick. So good luck again.
All right. Well, this is going to be a fun way to end the draft, you guys. I have pick 12 for the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm going to do something that Cowboys fans are going to just absolutely hate.
Shedeur Sanders.
Before I make the pick,
I swear
there's 2. Okay, there's 2 guys. There's 2 guys that I'm debating because McMillan is still on the board here, and I've said previously when we talked about wide receivers that I wasn't super high on McMillan because he's inconsistent. But I failed myself with my stats, and I looked up more stats from McMillan, and I found a stat that made me love him. So I have to apologize to McMillan because I didn't do my proper research, and this one stat alone, I should have looked up this stat before. Okay, so I called him inconsistent because he had like 300 yards one game, and then the next game he would have 11 yards. And then the next game he'd have over 100, and the next game he'd have 50. But the second leading receiver for Arizona had 35 catches for 323 yards and 3 touchdowns in 10 games. That was the second leading receiver in the entire season for Arizona. He averaged, in 10 games that this guy played, he averaged 32.3 receiving yards. When you look at McMillan's stats, 84 catches for 1,319 yards and 8 touchdowns, with that guy being your second receiver, that is amazing.
Wait, do you mean 35 catches or receiving yards?
35 catches for 323
Okay.
receiving yards.
No, that's over 10 games, right?
Over 10 games. Yes.
So, yeah, it averages out per game to 30, whatever, 35, 38 receiving yards a game.
32.3.
There it is.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's terrible.
That's terrible. So when
you have no help.
When you look at the stats that McMillan put up with literally nobody else who could catch the ball consistently, nobody, that is amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I have to apologize to Ted McMillan for saying I wasn't high on him, because I am now. And as much as I want to pick him here, I'm not going to pick him. I'm sorry. But do you really think that if Shedeur Sanders is on the board at 12, that Jerry Jones is going to pass on him?
Probably no.
Do you really think that if Shedeur Sanders is there at 12, that Jerry Jones is going to pass on him?
I hope so.
There is 0% chance that Jerry Jones passes on Shedeur Sanders if he is on the board at 12.
There's still time not to do this. You don't have to do this.
10 minutes to make your pick.
Okay.
Pal. 10 minutes.
Okay, but I'm thinking like Jerry Jones here, okay? We all know that Jerry Jones cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's money. He does not care about winning at all. So he's going to pass on the best receiver in the draft, and he is going to select Shedeur Sanders with pick 12. Okay? And here's the reason why. One, the money. Two, Dak has had a history of being injured over the last few seasons, okay? So if you bring in Shedeur Sanders, yes, he's going to sit for some games. But every single game when Dak goes out on the field, every single drive when Dak's on the field, Cowboys fans are going to be sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for him to get hurt, waiting for Shedeur Sanders to take the field.
Sounds healthy.
Can I just please hear real quick? 2026 cap hit for Dak Prescott, $76 million. 2027 cap hit for Dak Prescott, $70.8 million. Potential out after 2027. The 2028 cap hit, $80.8 million.
I know.
You're gonna draft a guy first round, and then just let him sit for 3 years, Aaron Rodgers style, I guess, and just hope for the best. That's how I feel about that.
I know. Trust me, Will. I thought about that too. I thought about it too. But you know what Jerry Jones loves more than anything else in the world? Money. He loves
Being
money.
Jerry.
Mark Davis's haircut.
I know there's a money problem with Dak Prescott. I know that. But Jerry Jones is going to figure that out later. He's not going to care. He's not going to care because he gets Shedeur Sanders, and that's going to bring the Dallas Cowboys a bunch of money. Okay? That's literally the only reason that I'm picking Shedeur Sanders at this pick, is because there is a 0% chance that Jerry Jones passes on Shedeur if he is on the board at 12. 0%.
What's our draft grade?
Man, what is our draft grade?
Well, I know what pick 12 gets.
Let's see it.
It's I don't.
You just calculated this whole thing. Now I got to look at this ad. There we go.
Well, let's see how the rest of the draft played out. Matthew Golden at 13. That's what I was also somebody I was considering for the Cowboys. Then McMillan at 15 for the Falcons. Hey, they get a Drake London clone. Ooh, that's interesting. Amarian Hampton to the Chiefs at 31.
Not a lot of this makes sense, but the AI did its best.
It's just a mock draft. None of it really makes sense. None of it's going to actually happen this way. But
I'm bummed. It was loading. It said loading your draft grade. And then here it is, and it just gives you the results.
I know, it doesn't actually give you a grade. I don't know why. Hey, look. Pick 21.
I wanted an opportunity to get mad at the grade.
Hey, Will, can you
I knew this was coming.
Can you read that name for me at pick 21?
Emeka Egbuka.
There you go. That's right. You did it.
Samtama Egbuka.
Yeah, stop while you're ahead. Yeah.
All right. Well, just a real quick recap of our picks here. So we had Cam Ward at 1, Abdul Carter at 2, Travis Hunter at 3, Will Campbell 4, Mason Graham at 5, Ashton Genty at 6, Jackson Dart at 7, Tyler Warren at 8, Jade Barron at 9, Armand Membu at 10, Will Johnson at 11, and the great Shedeur Sanders at pick 12. All right, so there you have it. That is the 3 Guys 6 Balls NFL mock draft. We will see how close we get. I think we're going to be pretty on point here, guys.
I'm just still upset about pick 12.
I'm sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it. You know it's.
No, Jerry had to do it.
I'm pretending to be Jerry.
You could have been your own man.
No, it was the logical pick for the team.
You know it's going to happen.
The logical pick for the illogical team.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
the one, yes. I just happen to be a fan of that team and hate it.
You know it's going to happen if he's there, too.
Wholeheartedly hate
You
it.
know it's going to happen if he's
My
there.
self-esteem has taken a massive hit from being a
So,
fan.
before we close out here, if you are any of those teams in the top 12, which team of all of those that we just picked from do you think has the highest probability of trading out of their spot?
Ooh. I would say the Niners have a pretty high chance, to be honest. They would, like you said, I mean, they need so many positions. You might as well trade back and try to pick up some extra picks.
Honestly, I think the Titans.
Okay.
I see that.
I just think that I don't think Cam Ward is enough of a prize to not even bother looking at. Well, I'm not saying they're not looking at, but I imagine the options you could get for him for that pick would be decent.
Who do you think moves up for him then?
Oh,
Saints.
maybe the 49ers.
Interesting.
Maybe
I
the
could
Saints.
see the Jets moving up for him.
I could see that. Who would they go for?
Oh, I
Cam?
think Cam Ward goes number 1. Or who has that pick? I think Cam Ward goes number 1.
I think the Steelers would try, but there's no way they're getting there.
They could trade away their coach.
That wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be bad.
That would work. And if you're wondering, yes, you can actually trade your coach.
Can you? You can?
Yes, that's a real thing. You can trade your coach.
can.
That is so cool. Has that ever happened?
It has happened.
That's so cool. Just to like, could you imagine a team being like, we're putting our coach on the trading block? Like, instant, just plummeting team morale. We're shopping our the coach.
That's the one thing about the Cowboys is you know he's never going to trade his coach. He's going to keep him around for 10 years, even if he doesn't make the playoffs. All right.
Last time NFL head coach was traded was 2023.
Oh, recently.
Denver Broncos traded 23 first-round pick and 24 second-round pick to the New Orleans Saints for Sean Payton and a 2024 third-round pick.
Oh, yeah, they did do that, huh?
Well,
I didn't know that.
Sean Payton got a higher draft stock than, so many players. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, a 1 and a 2 for a head coach. Jeez.
If that was a pick, like one pick, what would Sean Payton have been ranked like pick wise for like what
For a 1
they
and a
had
2?
to trade for him? For what they
Yes.
traded to get him, what would he have been ranked? Or like what would his pick have been?
Sean Payton and a third for this year's 1. So Sean Payton and this year's third for this year's first and next year's second. I mean, that's top 5, right, Joel?
I would think so.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think about like that.
That's wild that you would think like, oh yeah, the coach. He's not on the field, but he's important. I mean, you're not Cam Ward important, but a little lower.
All right. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for tuning in to our NFL mock draft, picks 1 through 12. The NFL draft is coming up at the end of this month. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. Again, go watch the movie Draft Day. It is out on Netflix now. Some more free advertising there for Netflix. We will be back next week. We're going to be talking more NFL draft. We're going to do a deep dive on some mid to late round players. So stay tuned for that. And as always, keep your balls played with. We'll be back next week.
Bye now, y'all.